Michael is the president of the Florida Renewable Energy Producers Association. He spends a lot of time up lobbying in the government on issues related to renewable energy. So he's a great resource, as are all the speakers, on just touching base on what's going on at the legislative side of things and where we can take it from here. So with that, Michael.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you guys for being patient. And as you said, I'm just going to, I've got a pretty long presentation here, but I'm going to just pick a couple of slides and go through them and just kind of talk about exactly where do we go from here. Okay, and as you said, I'm the president of the Florida Renewable Energy Producers Association, and if there's anyone that doesn't know who that organization is, we founded this organization about 3 years ago, and it's a 501c6 nonprofit, and our mission is to make sure that Florida has a renewable energy landscape with respect to policy that will allow the industry to flourish. Our members are mainly large-scale renewable energy developers. We have biomass members, we have some solar members, and we also have wind developers and wind manufacturers. We also have biofuels producers as well. And I won't rehash probably some things that Tommy and others have discussed, but I'll touch on just a few things just to kind of tee up where we are. Okay, and as I'm sure that George and others have mentioned, and I'm sure you've seen a variety of maps, you know Florida and the entire Southeast is behind the curve. And the renewable energy portfolio standard is really designed to do several things. And those several things are to increase the amount of renewable energy produced in Florida, promote stable electricity prices, protect public health, improve quality of Florida's environment, and stimulate our economy. And at this point, I'm going to kind of get away from the presentation a little bit and talk about that, stimulating the economy. We have an opportunity currently. We have an unemployment rate that is nearly 12%. And as Tommy and others have suggested to you over the last couple of years, we've tried to get a renewable energy portfolio standard passed in Florida, and many of us have made the argument that a renewable energy portfolio standard in any state that has been adopted has in fact increased renewable energy production. And given where we are currently in our economy, we need, the jobs, and we need to send a message to the outside world that Florida is, yes, open for business with respect to renewable energy, and yes, Florida is a place that respects and we encourage technology and science. Currently, there's more venture capital dollars raised in California per week than there is in Florida per year. And that's for a variety of reasons. And one of the key reasons is because they've been able to position themselves and to market themselves and to, frankly, prove to the world that they are very progressive with respect to technology and renewable energy and a whole host of other things. Not that we want to be California, but we want to be the best Florida that we can be. Now, currently, there are several bills in Florida legislature regarding renewable energy. As someone I'm sure mentioned, that there's a bill filed by Senator Nancy Dietert, which is the same bill that Senator King filed last year that passed the Senate. And also there's a bill by your local Senator, Lee Constantine. It's a renewable energy portfolio standard bill, but his is a little different in that, actually it's a lot different in that it doesn't include nuclear. And there is a bill to address the avoided cost issue, and I heard George and I'm sure some others talked about. And there's a few other bills that are out there as well. On the House side, there's nothing that I can really speak to yet with with regard to the chair of the Energy Committee putting forward. I have had meetings with with him, and they've assured me that they are looking at an RPS, that there will be an energy bill in the House of Representatives this year. And some pretty high-up conversations I've had on the Senate side, if they had their druthers, they would have taken Senator King's bill, which is now Senator Dieter's bill, and passed it already out of committee. But what they wanted to do was to, frankly, not embarrass the House, because there's a lot of things that they're going to need to negotiate between the House as the legislative session moves forward. So what they want to do is to not just kind of push that down anybody's throat just yet, but they're waiting to find out what the House of Representatives is going to put on the table so that they can start just trying to figuring out what they need to do at that point. And I was sharing with someone earlier, the issue of feed-in tariffs is off the table. The Senate has no appetite for it, and nor does the Florida House of Representatives. And I think, one of the reasons, probably very similar to the national debate on health care. When we talk about policies that are great for some other country, there is some legislators, for ideological purposes and et cetera, they are apprehensive about embracing those policies. So I'm sure that the supporters of feed-in tariffs will try and find some ways to try to get some of that language in some bills. But I'm just kind of giving a warning shot out there. That's kind of where the legislature is thinking right now. And I think I heard someone earlier talk about a public benefits fund, and I like to call it a clean benefits fund. I, too, think that is a wonderful policy. What it does is it provides a stable source of funding for renewable energy projects. It's a much stable funding source as opposed to the current programs that we have now, like the solar rebate program, which is not sustainable long term because you can't really depend on it from year to year. So a public benefits fund is a great policy, but the problem is, and I think someone mentioned it, it's very difficult to have that discussion without saying you're raising taxes. So we have to figure out how do we do that? Do we try and get the legislature to see the light of the day, or do we take it to the streets? And what I mean by that is, do we make it a ballot initiative? There is enough polls that have been provided to the public over the years that indicate that the public, by and large, would be willing to pay an additional, I'm not sure what that cap would be, but an additional something per month for renewable energy. And you may be better off taking that fight to the streets, just a suggestion. And one other item, a big item actually I'll mention because I know my time is extremely limited, is that renewable energy renewable energy advocates, we're going to need to do a better job than we have in the last couple of years. The complaints that I have heard from the Senate, our supporters in the Senate, and also our supporters in the House, is that they don't get a clear message from us. There is confusion, there's noise, they want to help, but they don't know what to do. I've had a meeting with, I guess I can mention your Senator, Constantine. He and I have been talking about this for a couple of years. I met with him just last week. He says, Michael, you guys need to give me a plan. I mean, I'm a senator. I'm a chair of this committee. I do this, that, and the other. I'm not the expert, but what I need to do is a plan. So just point me in a direction. But what happens is that as advocates, we have not been consistent and concise in terms of providing that plan. And over the last 6 months, and I see Chris there, he can attest, I've been out meeting throughout the state, holding various meetings, trying to get the various stakeholders to at least come together with some principles in which we can all agree on to go to the legislature and work together. If we can do that, we do have friends on both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans in the Senate and in the House. If we could do that, they're ready to help. You know, so I'll encourage that. And before my time is completely up, I would also suggest to you in the audience, this will require your help as well. We ask you to be engaged. The renewable energy community has not been one that's been successful with respect to lobbying and organization and et cetera. So we ask you to get involved, reach out to your friends. Please join us on Twitter. It's Florida Green Energy at Twitter. Follow us on Twitter, and we encourage you to reach out and get engaged and let the legislators know that it's not just myself and George and Chris and Dr. Fenton and others that are interested in this. They need to know that there are folks that are in their legislative districts that think these policies are important. So I can say a whole bunch more, but I will pause at this point, and if there's any questions, I'll be glad to entertain them.
I think I have a plan.
Sure.
It would satisfy most parties involved. Steve Precourt has said that from the legislative perspective, offshore drilling is the priority, that and nuclear. So it seems to me, pass the offshore drilling initiative, the legislature, take the licensing fees from that, and which are going to be long-term and dependable, put them into a public benefits program that you can call whatever you want, feed-in tariff or whatever, that all the utilities can now, I didn't say match 50%, but match at some level, and then we would have a sustainable, long-term fund for renewable portfolios.
Really, that's really not a bad plan. It's very interesting. What I'll share with you is Florida Renewable Energy Producers Association. We have not taken a stance with respect to the offshore oil drilling because at the end of the day, when we look at it, we say, well, does this impact the ability of a biomass developer to get his project done on Progress Energy's grid? Well, no, it doesn't. You know, so that's more of an environmental fight than it is a renewable energy development fight. And as renewable energy developers, we are really business guys. When you got to raise $200 million to build a project, you're really a business guy. But what I'll share with you is that my concern is I don't want the offshore oil drilling to be pitted against renewable energy. That's the problem. It's the same goes to nuclear. We think that those things should be dealt with on their own, and if there is some benefit to the renewable energy community, such as the plan that you just mentioned, I think that would be wonderful. But we don't want that to impede the progress we're trying to make.
That's a good place to kind of bring your thoughts together and take the feedback form that you picked up on the way in. And even if it's not well worded, if you could just jot down 3 things that people in this room, people at the symposium, could do to help ensure that RPS passes this year. Should it be something like the plan that was just suggested? Should we work with the EDOs? Because if it's jobs, then chambers and economic development commissions and so forth might be the route to meet the legislators. Is it a referendum? There were a lot of ideas today, but 1, 2, 3. What do you think that everyone in this room could do? That would be very helpful to us in bringing everyone's thoughts together to take things to the next step. There's also a couple of questions on the feedback form to get us started in planning for our next Clean Tech Symposium in April on green building codes and ordinances. So the feedback form would be very helpful to us if you could kindly take a few minutes to fill it out and drop it off on your way out.